I think we have to appreciate the fact that we're going down this route, and we need to be very careful about what this means. There is a very fine line to draw between religious conservatism and social extremism, and we've been here before. Ideology is not really the cause. Study after study has shown the same thing, that in reality, the primary cause of radicalization is not an ideological worldview, but it's a mixture of a range of different things, including ideology, including foreign policy, including political, economic and social issues. And we need to make sure that whilst there is a complex problem, there is a multifaceted approach to it.
Is that a way of saying this is not about Islam?
I mean, what we realise and what the MI5 have themselves said is that actually Islamic values and Islam is the solution for many of these people rather than the problem. And we need to realise this and use this idea to try and help solve the problem rather than...
Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and if you get that message wrong, you isolate people, as we saw from the film, instead of pulling them in.
I think the British Prime Minister did a fantastic job. It's a very sensitive debate. He walked a fine line, and this was an excellent, excellent speech. Number one, it's inclusive. The Prime Minister starts and states over and over again, we are all British, regardless of whether you are born here or you are from abroad, you are here legally, we are British. And what he does is he draws a red line between what British values are: freedom, tolerance, and gender equality, for instance. And he rejects outright any kind of narrative, whether it is violent or non-violent, any kind of narrative that is about submission, that is about intolerance, that's about bigotry and gender segregation, and then tries to justify that in the name of religion. And I think what the Prime Minister does is he gives an outstretched hand to all the Muslims who loathe and are disgusted by what the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria is doing, by what the extremists say in the mosques, online, in schools, and he wants to draw in those Muslims who are first and foremost hurt and harmed by the Islamic extremists.
Do you agree that people in the Muslim community need to take ownership of that issue themselves, and this is something that he was trying to address? I
mean, Muslims are united in finding Daesh or the so-called ISIL as an abhorrent group. I mean, we need to just put that aside. This idea that there is even any sort of special duty on Muslims to have to deal with this in a different way to the rest of British society is quite patronising to
Ayaan Hirsi Ali.
I don't think we can put that aside if British young boys and young girls are being lured as cannon fodder and as sex slaves. What the Prime Minister is saying is he is ready to protect these young Britons from that kind of ideological...
Nobody's saying anything very different to this. I think we have to be very careful. There's nothing that's being said differently from Muslim communities across the country who condemn these things and who always are talking about the fact that
it's just hard to... Sorry, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Let me just put to you that the response, though, from the people in the film who said all we heard was this list of problems that Muslims are meant to cause, whether it's FGM or forced marriage. Now, those are people who weren't feeling included at the end of the speech. They were feeling more isolated, more alienated than ever.
No, they're not feeling isolated or alienated. They've bought into the narrative that Muslims are victims. And the Prime Minister stated very clearly, all these conspiracy theories need to end. When you feed into the conspiracy theories and depict Muslims as victims, you are only helping the Islamic extremists who are selling to young people that Islam is under siege. Islam is not under siege. And he's saying it's much better to be in Britain as a free person who enjoys everything that all the other British people enjoy, and stop looking at yourself as victims. The way to fight the Islamic extremists is A, to take ownership of the problem, but B, also to make sure that you have the faculty of critical thinking to deploy. If you hate what ISIS is doing,
no one has a problem with the fact that everybody needs to work together to solve the problem of extremism. This is something, but there's no special duty on Muslims, and what we have to do is deal with...
Wait a sec, there's no special duty... No. Well, Ayaan Hirsi Ali laid out what she called this victimhood, this sense that everything that is wrong with Islam is because it happens to Islam or because of the treatment it gets from a British Prime Minister or whatever. So when you're saying laying out the problems, what do you think has to be addressed here that can be addressed?
Of course there have to be actions dealt to deal with a range of different problems, but to say there's no issue when it comes to the Muslim community and Muslims don't perceive an idea of being second class, none of them in the society, I think that's not necessarily fair. We have a situation where over 50% of young children believe there are too many Muslims in the UK. We have a situation where bullying has grown by over 70% according to Childline of young Muslim children. We have a situation where real Islamophobia is becoming socially acceptable.
Let me
in the
get
UK.
Ayaan Hirsi Ali to respond to that then, that these are real statistics of bullying towards Muslim children.
I think you are clearly a part of the problem. Muslim children, most of them are in fact segregated. What we need to do is, if you are horrified and you are disgusted by the actions of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, then you should be equally disgusted by the theology that makes it right and that justifies it. That's within Islam. That's what Muslims need to take ownership of. And the good news is there are a lot of British Muslims, most famously Majid Nawaz, who are taking ownership of this problem and who are calling for reform, and the Prime Minister wants to ally with them instead of individuals like you who are a part of the problem.
I'm so sorry, we've run out of time. It's very hard to give everyone the last word, but thank you both very much for joining us. Thank you.